And we are back, and I know that y'all have been waiting for us.
Waiting.
Something happened over the weekend.
Oh my gosh.
And it exploded. Blake Bortles got a contract. We're going to talk about that in a second.
What's up, fuckers? That's
Hey.
I'm going to start. I mean, since we got overwhelming reviews to continue to swear,
Yes.
I'm going to talk like I talk normally. That when I walk into the office, I say, "What's up, fuckers?"
It's been nonstop. Curse as much as possible. We did the poll. 90% of people want unlimited cursing. 4% of people want one curse. 6% of people want two curses. And Josh isn't here. So I'm going to try and curse less, but it's definitely
I will try to make it less as well.
We're talking Bortles. We're talking this Marcus Peters trade.
Woo.
We're going to have Connor Rogers from Stick to Football come in. I'm going to do some Lefkoe inventory. We're going to learn about the Combine before all these interviews start. I forgot. We're almost near our favorite time of the year, hand measuring season. I think we should measure our hands on Wednesday and see how we're doing. See if we've grown or shrunk at all from last year.
Well, your favorite thing of this time of the year is watching guys' penises fall out of their spandex when they run the 40.
It was Chris Jones.
It was Chris Jones.
And it was a great football player, Mississippi State. It's just, you're watching for like 6 hours, guys running around in spandex, and it's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Ridiculous.
I can't believe it's a thing.
I do think football has to do something about their junk problem.
Oh, like when they're running around?
Just the junk problem within the combine or even in the football pants.
I never notice it, but my girlfriend will say stuff.
I notice it. I mean,
I just don't
I'm
pay
an
attention.
expert at looking naked men.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just takes you there. You just the shot.
It's
You're
just
like,
there.
damn, there's the guy's crotch, and I can see his penis through the outline of his football pants.
Something actually happened right before we came in here. New York Times reporting that a major fine is coming to Jerry Jones, millions of dollars from Roger Goodell for ostensibly two reasons.
Yeah.
Number one,
Right.
because he was very vocal saying that Zeke should not be suspended.
Right.
And number two, and probably more important,
Yeah.
that Jerry Jones was leading the charge to not get Roger Goodell extended. We have not talked about this at all. It
No.
literally just happened. My first thought was, I don't understand. I thought the commissioner is supposed to represent the owners, and if the owners are going to go out and say, I don't want him representing.
Was not his place, though. See, it's the rules. He was not a part of the compensation committee. He was butting his nose into a committee he had no business.
So he wasn't selected for that committee, so technically, shut your mouth, you didn't make the committee.
You weren't supposed to even be talking about
So
this.
here he is just trying to rile up public notion.
Yes. Right. So I think that's what it is. I mean, I don't know. There's no rule. I don't think there's a written law or a rule that he can't say that.
Yeah. I saw an Ed Werder tweet that said Jerry, throughout that entire process, made sure that he was within the legal ramifications to not get this fine. But no, this is Roger Goodell. Look, Adam Silver, who I believe is the best commissioner in sports right now, he finds Mark Cuban for doing stuff. He finds Magic Johnson for talking to people.
Yep.
But we have a legitimate battle between Jerry Jones and Goodell, and I know you love this kind of shit.
I do like it. I mean, Jerry is kind of taking the place of the old disgruntled Al Davis in the NFL right now.
I said that before, that he's becoming Al Davis.
He is. You're right about that. I don't think there's anything. But I think the big thing I look at really is, yes, he spoke out against what the league was trying to do against Ezekiel Elliott. So I'm sure there are written laws about that.
Yeah.
And then he stuck his nose. And again, the commissioner, just when I thought about it, and I would like to read more about it before we really dive into it.
That's really all the information that's come out thus far.
But I got to think he can almost say, like, it's like conduct detrimental to the league. And I would bet you the other owners that are on that compensation committee have said, go ahead, fine him. He's had no right to butt his nose into this conversation.
Yeah.
And I'll be interested to see where that goes.
Ever since Deflategate, I feel like the owners have started like looking at each other and going, oh, no, he spoke out of turn. Fine that guy.
Yeah.
You know, that was sort of when we saw that fissure with Kraft. I love it. I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I think it's good for our entertainment that Jerry Jones, the most vocal owner in the NFL, and the commissioner of the NFL are bickering.
Right.
For the league, it's not the best look, but that's what it is. I want to say this before we go into the topic of the day, the topic of the weekend, the topic of practically the year for you. I believe, and I want to speak for, let me see if I can speak for you.
Yep.
We are happy for Blake Bortles. We are happy for Blake Bortles' family. We are happy that he is getting paid for him. This is generational wealth. This is life-changing stuff that is happening to him.
Yes.
And neither of us are people that want to talk about another man's pockets. We're not going to say that, oh, you should give that money back. No, that's not how we work. Congratulations, you got your payday.
Right.
I think situationally, it led to this situation. We're going to get into that in a second. But I also think we care very much about the Jaguars. So before we break all this down, congratulations to Blake Bortles. Congratulations on performing pretty well down the stretch, enough to give confidence to the team. But we're going to talk about the situation. But I don't think as a man we would say, I don't know. Am I speaking for both of us here?
I don't know. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, as a man, I don't want to go and say, take that money back and all that stuff. I'm happy for him.
I am too. Again, I'm not here to hate on Blake Bortles personally. I want to restate that for the 9 millionth fucking time, okay? No, I'm happy that he got paid as well. I mean, again, we are the Players podcast, and it's more. I'd rather Blake Bortles have the money than Shad Khan. Okay, I mean, he's got plenty of money, so yes. I'm not worried about him. So from that standpoint, yes. And Blake Bortles has risked his body, and he's worked hard, and he handles himself the right way. From that standpoint, he's earned it. Now, do I think he deserves that type of paycheck? Certainly not.
Let's get into that. Yeah. So here are the details. For everybody else in America, it's a 3-year, $54 million deal with $26 million guaranteed. Sims and Lefkoe, it's a 3-year, $26 million contract. Correct?
Yeah.
It's about $8 million a year. Now, that doesn't include the signing bonuses. That's like.
Wait, so say that again. I'm still kind of looking to see if Jones is a part of the compensation committee. It's driving me crazy.
We're talking about Bortles. This is it.
All right, sorry. Go ahead. Go.
Okay. 3 years, $54 million.
Right.
26 guaranteed.
Right.
So in your head, what do you deduce that contract down to?
From what I've seen so far, it's a 2-year, $36 million deal.
So he gets $20 million, all guaranteed at signing in 2018. It was 19.
Right.
It reduces the cap hit from this season from $19 million to $10 million.
Yes.
That's the main reason they did this.
The main reason.
They freed up $10 million.
Yes.
In 2019, next year, he's due $16 million.
Right.
$6.5 million on which is fully guaranteed. So the Jags can pay $6.5 million to bail out after 1 year.
Yes.
So it'll be 20 this year, the 6.5.
But what's the cap hit if they do that?
It's a large one.
It's significant.
It's
That's
over
why
10.
it's a 2-year deal.
For my money, as I look at it,
right.
It reminds me very similar to Romo and Breeze,
right.
Where there were teams that were up against it with the cap,
right.
And they took the long-term contract money and they made it immediate, and the player gets like a lump sum check,
yep.
And it allows the team to kind of, use their money elsewhere. It's a little bit shocking to me because Romo and Breeze, we went, okay,
right.
They were in that position, but Bortles was just in the good spot. Also, new contracts, 2-year contracts, in essence, the same as the Bortles contracts for Coughlin, Caldwell, and Marone.
Right.
My biggest thing, and I'm going to go into my whole rant in a second. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let you go because this is, when you hear all the numbers, what have you been thinking all weekend? Where are you with this?
Well, when I first saw it, and I didn't know all the numbers, but right away at the first glance, I think I texted you when we were texting back and forth. I just said, it's got to be just a 1-year deal. I mean,
that's what I thought it was
right.
too.
So, again, I think we start the conversation here. Jacksonville is in a very unenvious, is that how you? Unenviable position. I think in the world of business, you're not supposed to be basically bidding against yourself. And that's what they were doing. So basically, they backed themselves into a corner of, we're going to owe him $19.5 million. This year, it's going to be on the books as that 19.5.
And we have so many other guys we want to renegotiate.
Right, and we have to find ways to lessen that number if we want to get a few players in here to help the roster out, whatever it may be. So they went out and they found a deal, yes, that lessened the number this year.
Which seems to be priority number 1.
Right. But year number 2, that's perplexing to me. And it seems like you're stuck with them unless they're going to have to. It depends if it's a post-June 1st cut or before June 1st. It's going to be like $11 million if they just decide to cut him, right?
And the June 1st, for people out there, if they do some form of negotiation, they can like split it, like some into this year, some into next year. But right now, it's looking like a big dead money hit if they were to cut him before next season.
Yes, it really does. And I think that's the part that surprises me more than anything. Do I think it's stupid? It's so fucking stupid. It's hilarious. The 70th best quarterback's getting $18 million a year. But
Yeah, what was your reaction? Did a lot of people text you?
Well,
Where
listen,
were you?
I know this. Jacksonville's sniffing around for quarterbacks, too.
Yeah.
So this story's not done yet.
Free agent quarterbacks?
Free agent quarterbacks, yes, I know.
Case Keenum's not getting the franchise tag that
no,
just got
I know
announced.
that, but he's going to be too expensive for them. That's right.
What kind of money are we talking in terms of sniffing then?
I don't know. I just think they're sniffing around for other options. I think at least, the very least, they're going to look for a backup to go, okay, if Bortles starts off bad next year, this guy can come in and we know he's going to be good.
Because they renegotiated Bortles, they cut Chris Ivory, they opened up a good amount of cap.
Now they could be they are prime position Lamar Jackson end of the first round, or somebody else maybe they covet at some point, whoever that may be.
If you were the GM, and they handled it this way, how would you have handled it?
Oh, well, I mean, I would have never, first of all,
extended the fifth-year option.
The fifth-year option was where they've made the mistake. They backed themselves in the corner.
It's like a franchise tag.
Right away. From that standpoint, right there, they were stuck. I mean, that's the reason Blake Bortles got wrist surgery. There was nothing they were going to be able to do. So why they gave him a $19 million a year fifth-year option, I'll never know. Nobody ever knows. It's literally one of the laughing points that me and my friends have around the NFL. It's just like they were bidding against themselves. Nobody else was going to pay anything near that. Even the fact Blake Bortles didn't even want to ask for more money. He just said, let's get the deal done. They gave one offer, and he said, let's sign it.
Yep.
So that tells you where he is as well. Now, nothing against that. Nothing against any of that.
No, I'll take your money.
And it's off his mind, and he doesn't have to worry about it. Now he can just work and maybe improve his throwing or whatever it may be. But, yeah, Lefkoe, I mean, come on.
I have a rant.
Right.
And I want you to
just
come
like they're ruining their chance to be a legit Super Bowl dynasty maybe.
Whenever you want to chime in, you are Mr. Bortles, you chime in.
Okay.
I think it's crazy. Who would have thought that in maybe the best draft in the last 20 years, Blake Bortles is the first one getting an extension? Not Jadeveon Clowney or Aaron Donald or Odell Beckham Jr. or Khalil Mack or Anthony Barr or Taylor Lewan or Zach Martin or the host of other players. Blake Bortles is the first one to get the extension.
Right.
That's crazy to me. What upset me a little bit this weekend is that people still see a contract as validation for the player and not decision-making by a front office.
Right.
Rich Eisen, our best bud, tweets out, laugh all you want, but the reality is Bortles was one batted down pass away from the Super Bowl, and the Jags are paying him far fewer guaranteed dollars in far fewer years than recently paid quarterbacks who haven't won a single playoff game or made a championship game to date. It was not Bortles.
What a brilliant argument by Rich.
It was in spite of Bortles. And this is the big issue with Bortles.
Right.
The same people that say quarterback wins is not a stat are the same people saying, well, he took him to the AFC Championship game.
Right.
Well, the defense was really good last year. And so we're validating that he's good because he's not getting paid because he's not as good as other quarterbacks. That's just a fact.
Yeah, he's getting paid the same amount Mike Glennon got paid last year, basically. He's getting a little more guaranteed.
I'm going to get to that in a second.
Okay, sorry.
So that was a quote from someone in the media, which I went, man, this is the problem that we're dealing with.
Right.
You taught me something a long time ago. When you look at quotes about players, the words they don't use are just as important as the ones they do.
Right.
So the Jacksonville Jaguars released some quotes from some of the teammates, and I thought, let's take a look at what the words are saying and what they're not saying. So the first one is Mercedes Lewis, tight end. He comes out and he says, I've had the pleasure of seeing Blake mature and progress for the past 4 years. And the one thing that I admire the most about him is his attitude. Brandon Linder said,
$5 million attitude.
Brandon Linder came out and said, he's one of the toughest guys I know, and I'm confident he'll continue to make us better on a daily basis.
$5 more million for toughness.
Toughness. Malik Jackson came out and said, he's the type of guy we want in our locker room.
Ooh, $8 million for the locker room.
Attitude, toughness, good locker room guy. You know what I didn't hear?
Right.
He's good.
One good
there was not one quote. I went through the whole thing. Yeah. I even looked at Tom Coughlin, and Tom Coughlin used the word dependable.
Right.
He shows up on time. We're not seeing anyone saying he throws a really good ball. He's really good. He's good in the pocket. We don't know about his arm strength or his accuracy. No one's talking about anything about the position, but in terms of attitude, toughness, and teammate, he's good.
Hey, it's a fail-safe. That's a great...
I'm not done.
Oh, sorry. All right.
So the Jaguars, those same guys have carried this guy this entire time.
Right.
And the big problem that I've seen is that the front office is taking it for granted. They're not trying to win now. They're not trying to maximize the window with this opportunity with this super young team all on their rookie contracts. They're assuming that it's going to stay open for a really long time and we can transition over 2 years with Blake Bortles. The Seattle Seahawks won 1 Super Bowl. If that wasn't the sign that all of the windows in the NFL shut quick, and they had Russell Wilson, and that window was that, and you're going to take it for granted. If you don't go out there and do a Cousins or a Keenum, then you're doing this long-term plan that everything is going to be awesome. So I looked at it and I said, what plan are they trying to execute? They're trying to do what the Bears did last year. And the biggest problem was, what did the Bears do with Glennon? They negotiated against themselves. They gave him a contract that no one else in the NFL was even looking for, and they gave him $15 million. And afterwards we went, well, that was really dumb. Nobody was even trying to sign Mike Glennon. What they're trying to do is, in my mind, do the Glennon Trubisky. Get a quarterback in for a year or 2 salary, get the rookie quarterback with his much lower salary, and get a guy ready to go. Glennon, in his first year, was a very low base of $8 million, but his dead cap in year 2 was just 4.5. Glennon probably won't be on the team in Chicago next year. That's not the dead cap for Bortles. His is 12 in year 2. It's a 2-year deal like we talked about. But here is the dilemma in this plan. The Bears had the 2nd pick in the draft, right? They moved down to 3rd. Are you that sure in a draft where there's clearly 5 quarterbacks better than everybody else that at number 29 you're going to get them? Because I saw 3 go in the top 12 last year, and we thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be a 2nd-round pick. I know everyone's seeing Lamar Jackson going there at number 29. You don't think someone's going to trade up ahead of them to get it? So my question for the Jaguars is, what if you don't sign anyone in free agency because you're doing the Bears plan, and then you say, we're going to get a guy at 29, and you don't?
That's why they gave him 2 years. I think that's where I wanted to go with that.
How is your plan that, you know what, if we don't get the quarterback of the now or the quarterback of the future, we're going to try this with Blake for 2 more years?
Listen, it's interesting.
It's not a fail-safe. Their plan is Blake Bortles. This is not, hey, no, their guy is Blake Bortles for 2 years. They've made that decision. And the reason we're here, in my mind, is because of Bortles' wrist surgery. That is the reason we got to the situation. Because if they didn't renegotiate and he failed that, it was $19 million no matter what. And then they couldn't go and extend, one of their young players or go out and get some free agency. I have an idea for them. They need to call me up. I'm putting on the owner hat. I am Lefkoe. I am the owner here. In his celebratory post-contract comments, Bortles said that my wrist, I'll be 100% in 2 weeks. That's what he said. He came out and said it because he's feeling happy and he signed it. In 2 weeks and 2 days is when the new year starts. That's when that contract that he just signed becomes official. What I'm doing on March 13th, 2 weeks and a day, I'm getting him out in the practice fields. Hey, man, let's have a catch. Hey, man, why don't you run some sprints? Yeah, I'm going to time it. I'm just going to time it. I'm going to give him the physical. He is going to pass the physical. And then I'm going to cut him on March 13th because none of this contract talk is binding. If the biggest issue was he's going to be hurt, but he comes on his press conference and says, by the new year, I'll be 100%, well, then we're going to take that damn physical. Because if you're healthy, I can cut you scot-free. And now I can go and pay for Kirk Cousins or get somebody else. That's what I'm doing. Save yourself. All of a sudden, he can heal faster because the contract's ready to go. We didn't know a timeline. Now we know a timeline. Then why aren't you waiting until March 12th or 13th to see if he could pass the physical, and then you don't have to pay him anything? But the problem is they've made the decision.
Well, because
Blake Bortles is their quarterback of the future.
There's nothing they could do because he was just going to go, fine, then I won't work out. I won't show up. I don't have to...
That's what I'm saying. You got to be like, hey, we're just going to hang out. We're just going to run sprints. I know. But the thing is this. I understand where they're coming from. I'm very empathetic to what they're trying to do. They're looking at a team and going, we're close. We have a guy. He already knows the offense. He's athletic enough to move out of the pocket. He can, as he's shown, make some good play-action throws to get it done. And they're thinking that that's enough. We're saying, it's never enough.
It's never enough.
Why are you going to hurt the team because you want to be safe? You have the most unsafe defense. You have weapons all over the place, and you're just going to take it all down a notch because he's there.
This is their baby. This is their third pick of their draft. This is the problem with first-round picks. They get 9 lives.
They do.
Because it's they're going to prove that they were right with this pick until they go into their grave. So it's just they're never going to give it up. Oh, I was right. See, we got to the AFC Championship game. He
just got all 2-year contract
right.
extensions.
But that's the problem. That's what everybody's missing is Jacksonville should have been a slam dunk to be in the Super Bowl. A slam dunk. And they weren't because of their quarterback. It's fine. I am all those questions. I mean, that was a great rant. All those things, like, I don't know their thinking. Like, I know they have to give them this year for 2 reasons. For one, because of the money, right?
Yep.
They don't want to pay him a $19 million, have that on the cap for
and
one.
That made sense.
Also, they don't know who they're going to get at quarterback, so you got to have somebody to fall back on.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't play out like you said. The draft doesn't play out, free agency doesn't play out, whatever it may be. So they got to have that guy. The thing that is confusing is the second year.
It doesn't make sense.
That's the part where I don't really know. Maybe that's where Bortles and his agent drew the line in the sand and basically said, no, we're going to need
We're not going to do the Glennon.
We'll take the $19 million then.
Yeah.
At the 5th-year option. Unless we have a little security for that second year. And I'm guessing that's what happened.
I hope the Jaguars surprise us, and I hope they package up some picks and they move up in the draft and they take somebody they want, and they can groom him underneath.
What people are missing is like $18 million a year is low-end starting quarterback money, right?
Very much
I mean,
so.
we're seeing Jimmy Garoppolo, who's played 7 games in his career.
It used to be the middle of the pack with the Andy Daltons and all those guys.
Right, now
but
it's the end.
Starting to go.
It's going to be towards the bottom here
There's
in another
a gap
year or two.
between like Glennon at 15, the guys at 18, and then the rookie contracts at like 6, 7.
So they can, depending on how free agency works out.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
they could still get another guy.
They might get Tyrod Taylor for $8 million a year.
Tyrod Taylor would be great.
Right.
I would like. Dude, I would take Josh McCown. We could take anybody.
I thought for sure they were going to be maybe in this Kirk Cousins conversation because they would realize they go, damn, we're like really awesome and we could win the Super Bowl like multiple times.
Yeah.
If we get a quarterback that can get in here and sling it around.
A lot of people are saying that this allows them now to re-sign Allen Robinson to a big contract.
Sure.
And my thing is this, and you've said this too.
Yeah.
If you leave this free agency, giving a long-term, big-time contract to a wide receiver coming off of an ACL injury bringing back your quarterback who's shown no signs of a big-time future, you are not going forward. You either staying the same or going backwards.
Yeah. Yes.
Allen Robinson can come back and be great, but I don't know. You've shown the propensity to draft wide receivers in late rounds and have success, and they all were open in all of the games last year. And the one position I don't think you need to spend a lot of money in is wide receiver.
No, I mean, Marquise Lee's a free agent, so they can play that out. He was. He's good. He's a good player. I mean, they should try to sign him back if they can.
Yeah.
Again, people are not going to really know how good some of the receivers are because he couldn't consistently get them the ball. Allen Robinson, I think you're exactly right, too. We're talking about a guy that was a 4.6 40 type of receiver. He ran, I think, a 4.62, I want to say, coming out of Penn State. That was his one issue. So he never was like the guy you go, oh, he can separate. He was like awesome 50-50 jump ball type of guy, right? That's what we really thought he was. So now he's coming off an ACL. I'm certainly not going to look to overpay him either in this situation as well. I'll be really interested to see what they do.
Do you still have a
here.
man crush on the Jaguars?
I do. I do. I mean, I think this is totally stupid. You know that.
Yeah.
I understand that organizations back themselves in corners sometimes, and they did that. I think the thing that surprises me more than anything is that the fact that Tom Coughlin is a part of it.
That's what I said last week.
I think that's the biggest thing. It is, because he's a guy that knows throwers. He's old school.
Apparently he went up to Bortles in that Patriots game and said, played a really good first half, and he walked away. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's the way he is.
I don't know. There was another big trade, though, and I think we're going to see a lot of trades in the NFL.
Wait, so how was people tweeting our podcast?
What the hell? I bet you Sims is so mad right now.
All right, so
they
weren't shitting on me though. They were more like
but there was I saw a few articles that were like Sims continues his vendetta against Bortles, and I saw one that was like, but look, all the articles that I read about this, and they were all over the place. They all acknowledged that Bortles really wasn't that good. Just no one's willing to take the stand that he's not good.
Right.
They're just able to go, it's a controversial player. Like they go, some people say good and bad. I'm like, yeah, but none of you just take the bad.
Nobody ever says really good. It's like you said, when people say the good, you have to listen to the words they don't say.
Yeah.
Nobody, when they say he's good, they go, well, he leads his team and they went deep into the playoffs. And
I know.
But all right, what is what it is. We're happy for him. Let's
I
make
am
sure
happy
that.
for Blake Bortles.
Yes.
Like this is a family-changing contract.
Good for you.
He played the situation perfectly. We want every player to get paid. We're going to get into Dez Bryant and Odell Beckham in a second. Our thing is we just think the Jaguars can be really special.
Yep.
And we just want to see a guy in there that we think has the tools to make it work.
Right. Oh, Jerry Jones, conduct detrimental.
Conduct detrimental.
Just as you were going there, I looked a little. He was not part of the compensation committee. He infiltrated that and made himself. Right. Yeah, he can't. So
he's one of those guys that would pay the fine in pennies. Like he'd come up in like a wheelbarrow, be like, count out my money. Marcus Peters traded to the Rams.
Yeah.
This happened on Friday.
Yeah.
He is the only player with more interceptions in his first 3 seasons than Marcus Peters is Ed Reed. He is 25 years old. He is incredible at intercepting, fumble recoveries, all that stuff. Your first reaction when you heard this news?
Wow. I mean, Peters is, he's in that conversation for one of the best corners in football. I mean, he's dangerous. He's scary. Guys like him don't come around all that often with, his size, length, speed, and then his ability to play the ball like you just were referencing with the interceptions. I mean, it's special. He plays the ball. For my money, I think we said this last year in one of our podcasts, other than Deion Sanders, he plays the ball better than any other DB I've ever watched in my lifetime. So I was shocked, but it was a smart move, I thought, by Kansas City and the Rams in a lot of ways.
So the Rams also get a 6th-round pick this year.
Right.
So they get Marcus Peters and a 6th-round pick.
Right.
And the Chiefs are getting a 4th-round pick this year and a 2nd-round pick next year.
Okay.
Was that enough to get back for one of the better cornerbacks in the game with 2 years left on his deal?
I do think it's enough because, you're going to have to pay him at some point, right? So next year, let's see, Peters is going into what, his 4th year?
Yes.
So then after that, you're going to have to give him the 5th-year option.
Right.
He's going to get paid a pretty good chunk of change, and then if you want him past that. So
right.
In essence, at the very most,
he
it's
becomes
only a
their new Tremaine Johnson.
A 2-year deal. But that's where it's brilliant. See, that's where I think it's really good. They really didn't hurt their team. They've kept a strength of their team a strength.
Yes.
They're going to lose Tremaine Johnson. He's going to get paid
and I would
way
say
too much.
those two are pretty equal in terms of talent.
They both did the same thing. Yeah, they would.
You just don't have to pay Marcus Peters for 2 years where you'd have to pay Tremaine right now.
Right now. Exactly right. And then the Kansas City is doing the opposite. They're buying themselves another year even after that with which one's there?
Kyle
Kendall?
Fuller, or one of the Fullers. Yeah.
Kendall's there.
Kendall
Kyle's
Fuller.
the bearer.
You're right.
So Kendall's there, and he just finished his 2nd year, so he's still a year behind where Marcus Peters was. So now Kendall Fuller is not as good as Marcus Peters, don't get me wrong, but he's still very good. And when his knee is totally 100% healthy, he's special. He's a first-round type of talent. That's what I thought he was coming out of Virginia Tech. So I think that's where I look at it and just go, the Rams did good. The Rams did good by the fact that, okay, they can't pay everybody. They got to pay freaking Aaron Donald here at some point. That's coming up, and he's going to be the highest paid.
And you still have Gurley coming up, and you have Goff coming up.
Right, so they're all coming down the line here, certainly. And I think the other thing that I'm really happy about with the Rams is they're not going down the Blake Bortles, we're going to be pressured into a corner because we've done something in the past, and we're going to I kudos to them if they don't franchise Sammy Watkins. That will be a huge mistake. To me, it's franchise LaMarcus Joyner or find a deal with him, but he's the guy that you franchise. Like our man Tremaine Johnson's going to price himself out of that running there.
Yes.
So he's out of the Rams. You got to realize that. LaMarcus Joyner is special. He's a really good player. You can franchise him. You want him around for a while, and it's going to be less of a money. And then Sammy Watkins, like when they were talking about Sammy Watkins, they might franchise him. Like if they do that, then they're stupid out there. That's all I can really say. They're stupid.
I was having this.
Why? Because they traded a 2nd-round pick for him. He was the 3rd best receiver on their football team. If that, it's close. Sammy Watkins is not a #1 legit superstar receiver.
Behind Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and who?
The
tight ends?
Yeah, the tight ends are good. We're missing one.
Gurley?
Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp.
I mean, I'm not going to put Taylor Austin in front of him.
It's third. It's third, and he has more like speed than both of them. But I'm not going to sit here and say he's a definite better receiver than Robert Woods. Robert Woods is a good little player. Watkins is not the same guy that came out of Clemson. He's never been the same after the foot injuries. That's why he's not in the class of the Odell Beckham Juniors and the Brandon Cooks. And I'll be interested to see how that plays out too.
I found it interesting that when a player gets traded, we often talk about how he's too much to handle.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Marcus Peters.
Right.
And in this, everybody went, oh, well, he's got Wade Phillips.
Yeah.
He had Aqib Talib. He knows how to deal with tough personalities.
Yeah.
And I just find it really interesting that no one talks about the fact that the Chiefs have the highest paid safety in the NFL or the second highest paid outside linebacker.
Yeah.
And they honestly wouldn't be able to afford him financially in 2 years.
Right.
No, they need to make it a behavior issue with Marcus Peters because he's done some stuff on the field and he threw a flag one time in a ref and all that stuff. So for me, I just found it interesting how when a trade happens, we don't evaluate the Chiefs.
Yeah.
We say, troublemakers getting moved.
Right.
Andy Reid didn't want to deal with him anymore. I just, from the players' podcast perspective, I always find it interesting how we vilify the player that, it didn't work in that locker room. He's too much. Maybe. I don't know. But he just became an enemy immediately when he got traded.
Yeah, you're right. He did. And you're right. None of those facts get thrown out there about that. And Andy Reid can handle people like Marcus Peters, but obviously there was something there that Andy Reid doesn't like. You wouldn't hear these type of rumors if they weren't true.
Yeah.
So I get that. He wants to, like you said, they know they're going to have to pay him. They got to juggle. They have cap issues there. They need to kind of retool their team, especially their defense. Go ahead. What?
I was just going to say, I was going around the office Friday going, my issue is not off the field with Marcus Peters. He does not show the wantingness to tackle. And maybe that was the issue.
Well,
that to me was his season. His 2018 season was a lot of clips of him avoiding tackles or not being physical or playing 10 yards off the line of scrimmage every play.
He will do that. Yes, he doesn't get in your face and jam you at the line of scrimmage. That's where it's close between him and Tremaine Johnson, because Tremaine Johnson will get in your face and jam you. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
But Marcus Peters is still special. And again, we don't know all the things that went on off the field. That's what you have to remember too. Andy Reid's he's a player's coach in a lot of ways. He will let things, from everything I know about him, he's not like a stickler to where he's just going to rule with an iron fist. He deals with personalities. He lets them be themselves. So we don't know all the stories about what they really had to deal with Marcus Peters either.
Of course.
And Wade Phillips does have a history of handling those type of guys. He has free reign on the defense.
It's funny, LaMarcus Joyner was an issue with Jeff Fisher going into his office before the season, and then suddenly with Wade Phillips, he explodes.
Yes.
Wade's just one of those guys
got great people
that
skills.
Understands people. And the coach, Sean McVay, great people skills.
Right.
It's easy for them.
Right.
Okay, so as you can see, I'm kind of in the player's mindset today.
Yeah.
I'm taking their side. I'm trying to understand what's going on with Blake Bortles. Dez Bryant came out, 29-year-old Dez Bryant, with some advice for young wide receivers. And he said, I would tell them that it's a mistake that I made, that you got to make sure that your body's right. Keep it healthy. That should be the number one goal. Sometimes you got to make those sacrifices. It's hard. You want to be out there on the field. You want to make plays. You want to be out there with your teammates, but you can't compromise your body. That's what I would tell them.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about.
The hardest thing for me, I think, to juggle as a player is balancing availability and longevity, where you want to get the contract by constantly being able to come on the field and playing through injuries, but you're going to hurt yourself for those second and third contracts because you're not letting your body get healthy.
Right.
And it's funny because I heard Stephen A. Smith just now on the radio talking about, who is Dez think he is coming out? He's not a top 5 receiver anymore. I learned so much from people's mistakes more than their successes. Jerry Rice can't teach me a lot. LeBron cannot teach me about handling injuries because he's never been hurt. But I could talk to Sean Livingston and learn a lot about battling back.
Yeah.
Dez has missed a lot of stuff over the years, but he's also played through a ton of injuries over the years.
Right.
And this is something that I'm curious if you think could be a tidal wave towards the future is I expected Odell to kind of do it, when he tweaked his ankle or whatever. We'll get to Odell in a second. But do you think people will sit more? Like Devontae Parker, anytime he kind of gets hurt, he sits. Deshaun Jackson, anytime he kind of gets hurt, he sits. And those guys can last a lot longer than a warrior like Dez.
I agree. I mean, yes, this is the game they should have been playing. This is 2, 3 years, 4 years late to the game, 10 years late to the game. come on, what again, how many times have we seen guys get hurt and they get asked to redo their contract or take less, 2 years after they got hurt because they're not quite the same player they were, whatever it may be. Yeah, you have to know your worth, and as a businessman, that's what you are in the NFL. Yeah, Dez is he's a football player. And how many times did he play with, he played with a broken foot, sprained ankles, whatever it may be.
Tons of back issues.
And it's catching up to him. Yeah, he played the position in a physical manner, and he lost some of that explosion because of that. And
he's
hitting the age to kind of double time that as well, to where, there's no way you can sit there and justify paying him $16 million a year.
Yeah.
And I think he has to realize that too. And really, I would just say, man, Dez, listen to your statement you just made. Man, listen to yourself.
He said he's lost a step.
Right. So don't price yourself out of a place that you want to be then. That's all I'm saying.
As a football player, he's watched Romo get paid and paid and paid because of the Cowboys front office's mistakes. And now Dez is sitting there going, I was just as big a part of that as Tony Romo was, but you're not the quarterback.
No.
And quarterbacks are just paid so differently.
Yes. And the quarterbacks, with the way the contracts are structured, more times than not, they're the easiest way to juggle around big chunks of money.
Yeah.
To where you can move it around on a year-to-year basis. So, you can't worry about that. The quarterback's like its own entity. He's not comparable to the rest of the 52 guys in the locker room.
The thing about the Odell Beckham story to me that was the funniest was a fan tweeted at him, you should play 0 snaps during the preseason. He tweeted the number 0, and then every entity in NFL Online wrote, Odell Beckham is going to sit out the preseason. Is he going to hold out? Blah, blah, blah. And then Odell came back and was like, yo, you guys are running with a non-story right now. Like, chill out, whatever. And I see on First Take today, is Odell holding out? And even when a player comes out and says that's not what that was about, too late. We've already started this storyline. We're going to go down this as far as we can. But the true thing is why is it a debate? Odell should not play any preseason game, and he shouldn't play any regular season game until he gets paid.
No.
So it's not a debate. It's a decision. Odell has more power than anybody in the sport right now.
Mm-hmm.
He is the most famous player in the sport. Sit your ass down and don't play anything.
No, well, I mean, especially the preseason, it's not going to do him any good. Who cares? Who
Remember when he played in the preseason against Cleveland?
Yeah,
and
right.
he almost had his leg taken out?
Yeah, right. That's really started the year for him,
yes, that was
battling
it.
injuries.
That was when we texted each other and we're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. is so good, so gifted, he can get everything he needs out of preseason practice, right? Out of all the training camp, everything, he's going to be fine getting work against Janoris Jenkins and Landon Collins. So please don't risk anything. Yes, players have to start handling this more like a business. I know the problem is we're all wired to go, gosh, I want to play. I want to be out there for my players and my teammates. I want to get out there. And of course they want to play. Like that's what people, you want to play. I mean, fuck, I lost my spleen and 9 weeks later I went to the doctor and said, I think I'm about coming back the last 2 weeks of the year. I think I might try to do it. And he's like, what? And he started writing things on, the paper that's on like the doctor's chair.
Oh, yeah.
He started writing things, and he wrote like the record of our team, which at the time was like 4-10.
Yeah.
And the amount of money I was making, and how many games were left.
Your doctor.
Yes.
Not your financial
and he's
advisor.
Like, he circled it, and he's like, I don't think any of this makes sense. And then he looked up my, and he was just like, no. He's like, what? He goes, first of all, I'm not sure I would clear you yet.
Yeah.
But it's just the way we are wired. I want to play. I want to be out there. I want to compete. It's just, and they have to save themselves from themselves.
Connor Rogers, get in here.
Connor Rogers.
Connor Rogers, Stick to Football podcast. He is tag teaming it with Matt Miller.
That's right.
Connor has been focused on the draft now, well, how many years? Like straight. 4 years.
Yeah. Connor's the guy I go to for my early scouting updates.
That's
and
where we're at.
Right.
We're at that point where you're going to go to Indy later this week.
Yep.
You're going to take in the combine. And I kind of want to do an overview with you because we've been partially because the Eagles were in the Super Bowl, so I was even more hyper-focused on that. But we've been so NFL-centric. Sims has his tablet. Wednesday, you're going to go through your quarterback rundown.
Yep.
But I want to do Lefkoe inventory with Connor. And I want to know, Tuesday and Wednesday at Indianapolis, it's like coach and player interviews days. Which storylines are we going to hear the most over the next 2 days? What will be repetitive for us?
I think the one thing that's going to be interesting is I think things are going to start to trickle out about Kirk Cousins because I think the under-the-table meetings will start to begin. Price points will be talked about.
Right.
And I think it's funny we go into the draft talking about the college players, and obviously that's why I'm sitting here. Yeah. But the one thing that comes out before any of them step on the field to run or do anything is free agency.
Right.
And I think it's very interesting when you look at Minnesota now not taking Case Keenum.
Yep.
And it'll be probably a 3-horse race between Denver, the Jets, and Minnesota for Cousins.
Which college players will have the most media at their podium when they speak?
I think Lamar Jackson will be a guy that's talked about because the recent story is that he has not hired an agent, and that he is relying on his mom to handle a lot of his negotiating.
Yes, he is. I knew that.
And that's a very interesting story.
What do you think about that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think anything of it. It's not a huge deal.
Right.
You want the meeting to broker some relationships with these teams. Like, that's where I think he's going to miss out a little bit.
Right.
At the end of the day, they are going to evaluate him for what he is as a player, what he's like in person in the meeting room, and the rookie contract.
It's kind of
set in
already written
stone.
for you.
Right, so that's why he's not doing. He's not going to give away his 3% for nothing.
Like, I know Kamara's represented by, like, his uncle's agency, so I don't want to, like, write off family immediately.
But the second contract
yes.
is where I'd go, please, Lamar, mom is awesome, don't get me wrong. But I'm not sure she knows the CBA thoroughly to negotiate.
With the full guarantees and the kind of guarantees.
The offset language and all that.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Right, because the last few years, a few teams have tried to get some new language into these contracts to mess with these guys.
Right.
Deepest positions in the draft.
I think it's back to running back again.
Yeah.
Once again, we have
Makes
a
sense.
draft where you can go into round 2, early round 3, and you're getting a guy that can start from day 1.
Right.
And I think the more interesting group, because we say it every year with running back, this guy can start from day 1, is cornerback.
Don't skip running back first. Hold on. You're shooting your load all over the place here.
I'm only on here for so long.
I want to ask him about the running backs. Okay. All right. But, yeah, so it's a deep class. I'm excited to get into that. Barkley clearly number 1, right? I mean, just from what I've seen.
Consensus, essentially.
Right. I have not really watched this kid from LSU. I'm really, I didn't even get to really see him on TV other than just, highlights. Like, I never got to even, watch him that way.
What's his name?
Guice.
Derrius Guice.
Right.
And I'll tell you with Guice, he was healthy in 2016, and I thought he was a lot closer to Saquon Barkley than people give him credit for.
Okay, right.
I know he played through injuries this year and looked like a different player. When he's on, he has a little Marshawn Lynch Jr. in him where he runs angry on every single carry.
Are you surprised? All right, so now just real quick with the running backs, last one. I'm looking at Mayock's top 5 position as I got it in front of me here.
Don't forget about Deshaun Kaiser.
Well, he's got Ronald Jones, number 3. Since I did Notre Dame, I got to see some of these guys in person this year.
You saw a lot of these guys.
And I got Ronald Jones, number 3, Sony Michel, number 4, Nick Chubb, number 5. I just out of these guys right here, and I haven't seen Guice, but, man, I'd have a hard time thinking that anybody else other than Guice or Barkley are better than Sony Michel. I really like Sony Michel, what I saw in person and on TV.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think with Michel, in the early of his career, he was buried behind Nick Chubb.
Right.
And then he got more touches this year, but was still in a 3-man rotation.
Yeah.
And he showed that, listen, he averaged over 7 yards a carry. He's a big play guy. And you put him in the outside zone.
Yeah.
He's the one cut where he's fast enough to get up the field, but he's a better pass catcher than people realize.
He could be that Alvin Kamara kind
I'm
of guy,
with
right?
you where after all the hype of the national championship, it was this guy could find his way into round 1. Now reality's sinking back where it's okay, he's more top 50.
Right.
Once again, it's the Kamara syndrome where you're looking at it and saying, running back. And then the guy gets in the NFL and he runs for 1,200 fucking yards.
Yeah,
and you're like, how did he not go round 1?
Right. Yeah.
All right, so you said corners deep too?
Yes, very.
That's pretty rare.
That's why it's interesting. More interesting than running back because you probably have 3 first-round corners this year, maybe 4, and then day 2, it's just a mess of a ton of guys.
So there's an elite 4.
So the next tier down has got some real
So
depth.
who are the top 4? Minka?
I think you're looking at Denzel Ward from Ohio State being the guy again.
Right.
Everybody
now,
thinks that.
Josh Jackson from Iowa, who 3 years ago was being looked at as a wide receiver, is a guy, if he runs a 4.5 40, he's going top 15.
Yeah.
He's 6'1". He had 8 interceptions. He had 2 or 3 against, I think it was Ohio State alone. It's a guy with ball skills, and teams value that differently. And then the third guy is the most interesting. It's Mike Hughes from Central Florida, a team that didn't lose a game this year.
Yeah.
He started his career at UNC, got kicked or left the team after a fight where he was charged with assault. The charges get dropped. Once again, ball skills, return ability, going to run a sub 4.40.
Yeah.
He's got it all you look for in a corner. If he interviews well and answers questions for what he did 3 years ago, another top 20 pick.
Right.
So it's those 3 and Minka?
Minka's considered like a hybrid more.
I just look at him as a DB.
Minka's
especially
a safety.
in today's NFL.
That's a great way of looking at it. I think the fourth guy is Isaiah Oliver, the corner from Colorado, because once again, you look at the prototype, a guy that's 6'1", can jump through the ceiling and run a 4.4.
Right?
The damn kid Witherspoon for last year.
Yeah, and Tedrick Thompson was the safety that played over those guys and had ball skills. So when you look at Oliver, he's a different breed where he's got the length, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism. You'd like to see him be a little more aggressive at times, but some coach is going to say, that's my prototype. I'm taking him in the back end.
Is he as long as the kid from Akilla Witherspoon? He's like that kind of guy?
Yeah, he's like 6'1.5", 6'2". He's close.
Right. And
shallowest positions.
Oh, I think
where there's a very small elite group.
That's offensive tackle. You have all these round 2 or 3 guys where you're like, he could be this, he could be that. There's no franchise tackle. I think the kid
in the
from
whole
Texas,
draft.
Yeah, no franchise offensive tackle. I think Connor Williams has the upside of one, but you're really rolling the dice if you pick him in the top 15 because the spectrum's huge. The bad turn on the Maryland game this year, and you're looking at a player that looks like a day 3 prospect at best. He's just getting smoked every play.
So maybe he's not
that's when y'all lost to Maryland.
So, but then you go to
everybody.
2016 when he's healthy. Once again, it's like franchise tackle. So then there's questions about his length, which is that matters at the next level.
Sam Baker stuff.
Tackle, the top of the tackle class. There's no blue chip player. There's no Laramie Tunzel essentially in this year's group.
Yeah, McGlinchey. Well, yeah, I'll be interested to see where he goes out. I mean, again, a guy I got to see in person, and I always thought Quentin Nelson was the guy. I mean, I know
he is. That's the big conversation right now is how high can a guard go?
Yeah,
and
he's
especially after we saw Scherf and all that stuff. You always have a good way of identifying which players Sims is going to love beforehand. Last year, you came up to me and said, months beforehand, I think Sims is going to like Patrick Mahomes, and he did. You were like, I think he's going to like Carson Wentz. Who are the players that Sims is going to love immediately?
You're going to love Josh Allen.
I knew that.
We knew that because you watch the arm talent. That's like the best buzz Sims ever says is arm talent. You go, holy shit.
Yeah.
There's only so many people on planet Earth that have been born to throw the ball like that. So it was great.
Good line.
That was like a Sims Mad Lib.
So, yeah, when you look at it,
Josh
Allen's the obvious one. Me and Sims have talked off the record about Lamar Jackson.
Right.
The way the ball snaps out of his hand and you can run like that, he's bigger than people give him credit for. You're going to like Lamar. What I love about Sims when we do the draft every year is he doesn't give a shit about the common analysis and says, I think this is why this guy can play, or I think this is why this guy can't. And that's why he's usually right about what he says. So I think those are the quarterbacks you look at and you say, okay.
What about other positions? Because he's a height, speed, legs and ass guy.
No doubt.
Who are the Carl Lawsons? The guys that everyone sees and he goes, he's as big as fast as everybody else.
Yeah, what about this Tremaine Edmonds guy from Tech?
That was going to be my next one.
When you look Virginia Tech is a linebacker.
They're a linebacker, right?
I was going to say Edmonds because he's 19 years old. He's 6'5", 240 pounds, just an athlete, 3-down linebacker. He can play inside, he can cover outside.
Right.
I think he's like your Hassan Reddick style where on third downs, you let him pin his ears back off the edge and say, go get the quarterback.
Yeah, right.
It's a ball of clay, and when you're built like that and you're that kind of athlete.
And you're still growing.
And you could be 6'6".
That's what I'm saying, 19.
Something I always say to Lefkoe, the door frame wingspan.
Yeah,
that kind of player is super interesting.
Are there any really big running backs that people like? Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette.
I was going to say, Bo is big. He's not very good.
Yeah, it did not look good on film.
He's not very good. I do think you're going to look at Guice's 2016 and just love the violent style of football he looks to play.
Right.
I think another guy is Marcus Davenport from UTSA because he's got the Carlos Dunlap build as an edge rusher where, listen, he's 6'7", 260 pounds.
What the fuck is UTSA getting players over Texas? What the fuck is going on around here?
It's insane. And a guy and it's fun film because, listen, he was just okay at the Senior Bowl, but when you watch him against, like, North Texas, he literally will put the tackle on his ass and throw him into the lap of the quarterback. And it's like, okay, well, we'll get him there eventually at the next level.
Right.
So, you're looking for a second-round edge rusher, but that'll be a Sims guy, I would assume.
Okay.
Who are the early guys, a little bit like Byron Jones, who you don't think are on a lot of people's radar, but could go to the combine and crush it, and then we go, like Alvin Kamara was one of those guys.
Yeah, no doubt.
He just killed it in every measurable.
Yeah, the name that you're going to hear, I think, from the combine at the running back position at least is Nyheim Hines from NC State because he's a track guy. He's a guy that
I saw him in person.
He's hit home runs. He has those 40-plus yard plays. You're probably looking at that 4.38 speed, or maybe faster. He could run 4.32. He's been a star track runner.
Yes.
So, and it shows up on the field. You look at the straight line speed and you're like, you give the guy a hole and he's gone. Another guy that's super interesting just because of speed alone.
Yeah, he could be Tariq Cohen, Tyreek Killish.
Yeah,
he really could be that kind of guy.
Exactly, and especially if you use him as a pass, in the pass game. I think Dante Jackson might break the 40-yard time. He's the slot corner at LSU.
Corner at LSU. I mean, he's the fastest 40 guy possibly.
That's the projection.
Well, everybody's been saying it, right? So they think he's got a chance to go low 4.2s.
Yeah, he does, but he weighs 170 pounds, so you better run through the fucking. You better run really fast when you weigh my weight.
Holy shit, 170.
Yeah.
That was 8th grade for me.
Yeah.
I haven't been 170 my whole life.
That's what's funny, though, is people don't realize, like, some of those 19 and 20-year-olds are still growing.
Yes.
Like, I went to the combine and grew 1/4 of an inch in my first year in the NFL. I was 22 years old.
And that's where age matters.
It does. People don't realize that.
I have said this I go back to Kelvin Benjamin. That's just when we brought it up. He was 24 years old, and he was bodying kids in college.
Right.
Well, you're not going to be 5 years older than people and bigger than them in the NFL.
No doubt.
And Kelvin's had a pretty good career, but
he hasn't changed, though.
He hasn't changed at all because there's no growth there.
Right.
Who are the really important 40-yard dashes? Who are the Jarvis Landrys? If he runs in the 4.4s, he's a first-round pick. If he runs in the 4.6s, he's a third-round pick.
Well, your wide receiver of it is Courtland Sutton from SMU because he plays like Alshon Jeffrey, where there's times where you're like, why can't this guy beat anyone, but he's still catching the ball over everyone.
Right.
He's 6'4", 215. He can jump through the roof.
Like Josh Doxson style almost?
Exactly, where you get him in the red zone, you say, we're just going to throw it up to him all 3 plays on the fade because he's that kind of physical mismatch. But I've heard from people down in Mobile that were working closely training him saying that he's going to be in the 4-5 range. That's big. If he is, you're talking back end of the first round. I thought he'd be closer to
Mike
4-6.
Evans stuff.
It's the Mike Evans thing. Now, once again, revisiting it, Josh Jackson, the corner from Iowa, if he hits a 4.5, he's a top 15 lock. There's just no doubt about it.
Right.
So,
what do you think he's going to run, though?
I think he does get close. I think long build-up speed, long striders. I think people are worried about their speed, but they realize 40 yards is a long distance.
Yeah.
These guys, they're given the chance to build up that speed. I think he hits the 4.52 mark at least, which is fine.
Man. Who's your favorite player in this draft right now? If you had to pick one to be Team Connor Rogers for the rest of his life,
I
only get one.
I don't want to say an obvious that I've been. I mean, I liked.
Who's your man crush?
It's probably Guice. Yeah. Because I look at everyone says Saquon Barkley this, the gap when they're both healthy is as pure runners.
Right.
Is not as big as everyone thinks. Barkley is like McCaffrey where it's offensive weapon.
Yeah.
You could split him out. We've seen him do the direct snap,
the
speed,
returns,
all that. But when you look at Guice's vision and power, and he can move not just as well, but very well. It's like, okay, that's a guy that translates to the NFL just as well.
Shocker.
Just in a different way.
LSU has a NFL running back?
Yeah.
I mean, shocker.
But also, honestly, my guy, I would say that I think is going to be a star. I would argue if he's not the best linebacker in the league in 3 years, I'd be shocked, is Roquan Smith from Georgia. It's just a different speed of play.
Every time you tweet one of his clips and he, turns it on to 90 miles an hour to get to the sideline, it's insane. I've just never seen anything like it. He looks like a safety.
Yeah.
He looks like Ed Reed. He looks like a Thomas Davis. You know, with the George on his helmet.
He's going to run like a receiver. He's going to run a 4.5.
He is.
So Sims on Wednesday is going to go over he's going to watch the film for the 5 main quarterbacks. And I would like Connor's prediction for how you think Sims, which will be his favorite to least favorite of the 5.
I really don't even know where I'm at yet. I know just TV scouting. I am literally, I would say this.
I don't want to know it. I want him to guess.
Well, I'm just going to give you mine before I watch I was going to say, I don't even, okay, go ahead.
I want him to guess.
I'll stack him first.
Yeah.
Who do you think is his number 1? Josh Allen?
I think Josh Allen is his number 1.
Okay, who do you think is his number 2?
Rosen.
Number 3.
Ooh, this is where it gets dicey. I think you'll pick Lamar Jackson third. I think you'll be very close to how I stack
over Baker.
Yeah, I think Baker. Here's my fearless prediction of this. I think you are going to be similar to me, where you're not as wowed by Sam Darnold.
Yeah, so I know that.
Okay.
I already know
that.
I've said this during the year. This is Sam Darnold, when people were saying he was the #1 pick, I was like, listen, I'm not saying he's not a first-round pick, but I can tell you that I have serious questions if he's the #1 pick. I don't see that.
I think you'll have him in 4 or 5 in the top 5, either 4th or 5th.
The motion and the body are scary to me.
I know that you love Baker, though.
I do love Baker. I do. The Baker game, this is the one thing just off of TV scouting. I'm interested to hear Connor's take on this. Just off of TV scouting, first of all, I saw Baker in person when he was at Texas Tech. And I can show you the telecast. It's Kansas versus Texas Tech.
Wow.
And they were still not sure who they wanted to play. Davis Webb, who was there.
Right.
Or Baker Mayfield. And I was like, I don't know, but I was like, Baker. I was on the game in pre-games, and I said it on the telecast. I was like, this Baker Mayfield can, like, really throw it. Like,
and then
really
Patrick
throw
Mahomes
it.
came in.
And then he came in, and they both had to leave. But I want to see the Georgia game on film, which I have it ready to go, and I'm going to be watching it tomorrow. Because the Georgia game, what scared me in the Final Four semifinal game, the second half, he looked small. It was the first time all year I said, damn, the pocket's closing in on him, and he can't make him, can't get outside the pocket. Can he sit in there and make throws? And that's my question. So I wanted to hear your 2 cents.
That's totally fair. I have gone to bat for Baker since the beginning, but I have to be honest here. Like, anticipating throws from the pocket, you either can do it or you can.
Right.
Right now, I don't know if he can, whether he has it or not.
He's going to see it and then step on the gas pedal to throw it hard.
So the best way to do it is really to watch Rosen, who is perfect in the pocket.
Who's a great passer.
The mechanics are flawless.
Right.
He throws with touch at all 3 levels, and he can really throw guys open.
He can do whatever.
And Baker's got a great arm, but when you can't see as much when you're working from the pocket, you notice the difference.
I heard Bevel talking about it, and he compared him to Russell Wilson. He says when you diagram a play for Russell Wilson, you have to create lanes. Right. And it's a different offense. It's not just the 6'4" quarterback.
It is.
Wednesday, Sims is going to dive in. I'm super excited because the big topic is Josh Allen's accuracy.
Right.
So be prepared to talk about that. You're going to go through your 5 quarterbacks. Connor, you are the man. I appreciate you. Check out Stick to Football. Him and Miller have been doing the draft for a long time. What do you guys got?
Josh Allen, say this just real quick for both of you to hear, okay? First of all, I already know stuff about Josh Allen. I've told you that. I know that, like, throwing the ball, like, short on checkdowns is an issue for his workouts, right? People are talking like, ooh, the check down to the running back is, it's one of his weak points. Okay. Okay, fine. That's fine. But I just would rather – it's easier to teach a home run hitter to hit singles than a singles hitter to hit home runs, okay? So not everybody's fucking perfect. I just wanted to end on that note.
That was
there.
good.
Yeah.
What do you guys got coming up this week?
Well, Miller's leaving for the combine earlier in the week. I'll leave Friday. We're gonna do a live show from a brewery in Indy on Saturday night.
Where at?
Too Deep Brewing.
So if you're in Indy, head to Too Deep
Get
Brewing.
Get deep into those brews while you're there.
It's gonna get a little ugly.
Too Deep. Is it named after like the defensive backfield, like playing a 2 deep?
Am I gonna think Mason Rudolph's a first rounder when I get done?
No chance.
No
chance.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. I know
you're a smart person.
As the year went on, I came less and less impressed with them.
Very.
Yeah.
Here's your sleeper quarterback that you'll like is Kyle Lauletta from Richmond.
From Richmond.
Yeah, that'll be you're like, okay, like he could be a 3rd-round pick and be real solid.
You know what other kid caught my eye on TV all year a little bit is the Virginia kid, Ben Kirk. Like Ben Kirk, when you watch the Miami game on TV.
He's got an arm to hit any throw.
He does.
Any throw. It just comes and goes in waves.
Okay.
So, he was down in Mobile, and the accuracy struggles are there.
That's what it is.
In terms of just a raw project, that's the guy you take instead of a low upside guy. So,
right.
Yeah, there's a lot to like with him. It's just consistency.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So I could totally get that.
Cool.
Thanks, boys.
Sounds like the Patriots draft pick. This is it. I'm going to wrap it up. Yes, if you're in Indy, check out Too Deep Brewery. Check out Stick to Football podcast. You could hear that Sims is becoming childlike in his excitement. That's what the draft is like. Every film is a new present, and every present could be Cole, or it could be the greatest thing.
Is his butt big? Is his butt small? I don't know.
Legs and ass, legs and ass. Big Phil is back on Wednesday, and of course, we're going to have the phone call. We'll have your iTunes comments, and we're going to dive deep into these quarterbacks. For Connor Rogers.
Say something. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah, for Chris Sims.
Peace out, homies.
Fendrick would say good evening. And the LEFKOE
man
says good night. Holler at you guys later, man. Love y'all.